in all this time, we have not been able to train the Iraqi army. Years now, years. And the Iraqi police force. And Colin Powell is exactly right. It's not the army, it's the police that take care of security on the ground. No one is asking the question, why? Why have we spent all this time and money and energy at trying to train this Iraqi army and police force and it hasn't worked? Is it that the Iraqis are the most incompetent people in the world? Is it that we're the most incompetent people in the world? Now, some people have those theories, but that's simply not borne out by the facts. The United States military has done a great job in Bosnia. We did a great job in containing Saddam before the Iraq War. Obviously, we've done a great job in many different fronts if we have the right leaders, obviously.
The Marshall Plan worked out nicely.
Yeah, that worked out very nicely. And the
but has there been a situation like in Iraq where there's so many different groups of people vying for power? Which sort of breeds corruption?
I mean, not exactly like Iraq, but there have been, yeah, and that's also why we shouldn't be there. I mean, that goes to Cenk's point even more. There is not an exact precedent to what we're doing here with a tripartite group like this. But by the same token, you don't go in there if you know that, and we did know that.
The flip side, by the way, though, is there's a lot to be said for that point, but there was a tripartite situation that is pretty close. As Ben famously said on Friday's show, just because some things are similar doesn't mean they're the same. But in former Yugoslavia, Croatians, Serbs, Bosnian Muslims.
Yeah.
And we did an astounding job there. And given the difficulties of that type of situation, and given what we've seen in Iraq, you have to look back and say, wow, General Wesley Clark and the Clinton administration did an unbelievable job in Kosovo and Bosnia.
But they knew that going in too, and what makes it different, obviously, is that those three people, with those three groups, were not fighting over one resource either at their core. I mean, you always have
relatively split already. Relatively.
Yeah.
Now, there was ethnic cleansing that helped to push
but you're right. It was natural. I mean, it was a pre-existing condition to a degree, but and not so different. I mean, it's not a bad example, but there is also oil in Iraq. That did not, was not a presence in the former Yugoslavia. But you're right. But the Clinton administration and Wesley Clark and all those great minds knew before they went in there that this is how we have to approach this. This is how we have to attack it. This is how we have to reason it. That's not what happened, nor is it seemingly what's happening now in Iraq.
But it's not just the U.S. incompetence that explains why we haven't been able to train the Iraqi.
No, but it's why we're there.
That's definitely true.
Yeah.
But of the Iraqi army and the police, it's because, and you certainly can't say it's because the Iraqis aren't willing to fight. As we've said over and over on the show, the Badr Brigade, the Mahdi Army, the Peshmerga, the Sunni insurgency, Iraqis can fight like a Dickens, as Rumsfeld would say.
Yeah.
There's no question that there is a fighting spirit in Iraq. It's just not in the army and the police. Why? For the 18th time, because they don't believe in Iraq. They don't believe in Iraq. And once you have that fundamental problem where they're not willing to do their job and fight for an entity that they believe in, then you're never going to be able to solve the problem. That's the core of the problem. So 30,000 troops, American troops, how does that get the Iraqis to believe in Iraq? It doesn't. It misses the point entirely. Young Turks on Air America Radio.